always does.
Welcome to Shade Tree Overland and Off-Road. Today I'm going to be doing an MPG loop test on my 1991 Toyota Land Cruiser. Just finished up a 6.5 diesel swap. This is from a 1993 Chevy C2500 Heavy Duty. Just got the suspension installed and got it to where I can actually drive it. One of the reasons I did this swap is because the 3FE that came in this 1991 Land Cruiser in stock form, in my opinion, was very underpowered for the size of the vehicle. This problem was made worse by going up to a 35-inch tire. Now, I didn't re-gear, and I know I can get some of that power back if I were to re-gear. However, when I bought this vehicle, I had this engine swap in mind. I already had the truck with the 6.5 turbo diesel in it, and I just come back from a trip in a Toyota Tacoma where, I was wanting something that was forced induction and had a little bit more low-end torque. The second reason why I wanted to perform this swap is because I'm wanting this 80 series to be something I can take out on trips, load it down and be able to still get decent mileage. With the 3FE, 6 was about my average, and 9 MPGs was about the best I could get on the highway if I drove it easy and didn't have the vehicle loaded down. Driving it easy wasn't really an option most of the time. It took every ounce of power this thing had just to stay up at highway speeds, and if there was a headwind or a slight incline that you had to drive up, it was very difficult to maintain any type of speed without keeping it to the floor, if you could maintain it at all.
Just topped off with some number 2 diesel, low sulfur, about a gallon and a half, filled all the way up to the top, filled up really quick, so didn't use much yesterday.
My apologies for that audio. This is actually the first time I've extracted any video from this dash cam. It sounds like I've got some alternator noise coming through. It's worse at idle and seems to get better with higher RPMs. I'm hoping that this will go away when I purchase a new power feed for my dash cam. However, if it doesn't, I'll probably end up putting some type of filter in line. Of course, I can't blame all of the noise on the dash cam. My windows are open, and my exhaust is pretty much a straight pipe off the turbo. Besides just being an MPG loop, the trip today is going to be to my father's house to test the fitment of my front stock 80 series springs on the rear of his 2002 Toyota 4Runner. My father lives about 90 miles away from me, and today I'm going to take a route that takes about 2 hours from my house to his. We live next to a large lake, and I can cut straight across the lake or I can go around it, and today I've decided to go around it just because I don't take it that way that often, and I think there's probably going to be less traffic to deal with and probably some better scenery as well. For the most part, there's not a whole lot between my house and my dad's house. Once I got around the lake, it was pretty much driving through the country until I got near his house. He lives near a different lake, and I cross over that and make the final last few miles to his place. Once we got to his place, we threw my springs on the rear of his 4Runner, and he really didn't like the stance. It would have looked okay if he had bigger tires, but on the 31s that he's running right now, it just didn't look right. So we pulled him off, and I gave him the keys so we could head down the road and get some lunch by the lake.
Your speedometer's off by 22% if you can get it to level out. Probably running about 50 right now, I would think. Try to look. Yeah, 40's about 50. And 50's about 62. Yeah, for this thing setting up the way it does, nothing bad. Doesn't feel too bad for me. On the way down here, so that lower number on that upper gauge is fuel pressure. I tried swapping that around with the boost, but the sensors are the same. But I think they read differently, because whenever I would get into what I think was boost, it would tell me I didn't have a signal, and it would say 0 when I was hitting idle. So I think maybe it's backwards. It was going into like a negative signal, or negative reading. Last time I drove up here, it took me a half tank of fuel. Oh, there's a wonder. Yeah, get the toe in a little bit, get sway bars on it. Yeah, I think you definitely need sway bars on it. The bushing's gone out of the steering. I think that's a lot of what you're hearing there, because when you idle, it'll sit there and squeak like that. When you put your hand on the steering wheel, it'll stop. It's touching the sheet metal. There's a bushing that's supposed to hold it in the center, and that's just completely gone. Well, give me dimensions. I'll machine you one. I mean, seriously, machine something that's heavier that's out there. All you got to do is have something that fits over the shaft where it's coming through, and you know what I mean, wherever you need it to be, slide it on and bolt it down. I'm hoping whatever it is 2-piece. You don't have to take it apart. Well, I can do that too. I can machine 2-piece brass, and then a steel housing that wraps around the outside of it. It's not like it's high speed, you know? Right. That's something I gotta tear my interior out and get my sunroof working. Just beware that your rack's gonna make noise. Well, mine won't. You see mine. A lot of them do. Mine's not a rack. Mine's a low profile steel sides. Okay. You know, like the fancy $3,000 ones. I got mine for $125. What'd you end up getting? It's NGB, I think NGB Industries. And all it is laser cut piece of metal for both sides. The bars that hook into the bolt to the bottom, they're aluminum. And then it's got raised in the front and the rear. But mine won't go past where my roof rack is back here. Okay. I just want something big enough to put the spare tire on, throw some firewood on, and mount the jack on, so if and when we go out, I'll be able to have that stuff up there. But I didn't want a full length one. Everybody talks about wanting full length and everything. And this is useless up in, I don't care what you're going to put on it, it's really useless because your sunroof. Yeah. So I thought, why put it on there? Keep it in the back there. You'll have less sound, you know. But I got to build, I'm going to build my own brackets. So I'm not going to put it on my rails or on my crossbars like everybody's doing, you know. They sit way up in the air and look like they don't belong. I'm going to build make some Z brackets or just L brackets to mount it on both sides down to the factory hardware on the bars that are running this way, and get it down there where it's set, you know, ain't that far off the top off the roof. But I'm thinking real seriously about when I take everything off of it up there, go ahead and taking the, I already had the roof rack off of it once to clean around it and get all that tree sap. I'm thinking about going ahead and getting my sander out and sanding the whole roof and taping it off and bed coating it. Because it's all sun faded, you know, and terrible looking. But, well, I got that can of bed liner, that generic junk bed liner. If I open it up and it's good, I'll use it. If not, I have to go to town and buy a quart. But I'll roll it on, and after you can take you down and see Jill for a minute. She'll be happy to see this thing too.
But it's so dirty. I closed the hood all the way.
Yeah.
What
What used to be on the hood? With those holes were
washer fluid?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's one thing I have a huge complaint on Toyotas. I didn't remember that until I got this 4Runner, and that Tercel was the same way. It shoots out two streams that hits your windshield when you're doing anything over 20 mile an hour and blows off the side, and your windshield wipers never really catch the water and spread it out. But you got two nice clean places like this. You know, I mean, if your window's really dirty. There's got to be some way I can put a, you know, some sort of jet on that to flatten the spray out.
That rock shape over there, that was the first time I ever drove it.
In the window?
Right here.
Oh, yeah.
First
Well,
time
that's
I
small
ever...
enough, you gotta go get it fixed. It's not taking off on you.
Yeah, first time I ever drove it, I passed a dump truck and it big old rock. Bam!
I got mine replaced, and when they put my mirror back on, it just rattles like crazy. It's got terrible rattling. It's driving me crazy. And I think he must have dropped it or something, because I can feel back there. It feels like it's got a crack in it. So.
Since the Land Cruiser had been doing so well all day, I decided to take a different route on the way home. This route would put me on the interstate for about 45 minutes and let me test how well the Land Cruiser could keep up with 75 to 80 mile an hour traffic. One of the things I love about this route is the beautiful orchards that you get to drive past. This one in particular with the trees on both sides of the road. You wouldn't want to have an accident here. Then came time to get on the interstate. I was impressed with the power this engine put out as I easily got up to 75 miles an hour and backed off. The Land Cruiser easily kept up with interstate traffic and got me back to my exit without any issues whatsoever. From there, it was just a short couple miles to the gas station that I started off at. At this point I let off the throttle because I was already doing the speed limit. With the 3FE engine, I would have struggled to get up the hill that's in front of me and not really reached the 55 mile an hour speed limit in this section until after I was well past this hill.
Alright, just topping off here. And last little bit in here. 10.7 gallons. Unfortunately, started smelling diesel right before I got to my dad's house. And I've got a little leak. Looks like it's coming from the bottom of the fuel manager. So, no. Have to get that fixed up. I know it leaked on the old truck and I put a new O-ring in it, but it might be something else like the fuel heater. So we'll see, but 10.709. Got my hood open. All the insulation smoking. Probably got hot on the interstate. Looking at 153 miles, but it's off by 22%, so I'll do that calculation when I get home.
I put a lot of trust in my skills today with this whole build, and you know, I think everything went really well. I wanted to drive pretty conservatively during this trip, but I couldn't keep my foot out of it, even though I didn't have a working boost gauge. That coupled with the fuel leak, you know, mileage wasn't where I expected it to be. I expected to get 18 to 20. With 154 miles on the odometer, a 22% correction, dividing that by 10.7 gallons that I put in the tank after I got back to the fuel station the second time, it came out to about 17.6 miles per gallon. Now 18 to 20 I think is definitely achievable once I get some things taken care of, but you know, overall I'm still really impressed with this build, and that's pretty much twice the mileage I was getting before, so I can't complain too much. I think because the engine, I already had it, the transmission I already had, and the money that I put into this was just getting things up to a good baseline, which is what I was going to have to do with the 3FE that was in here anyway. I think overall it's going to pay for itself fairly quickly. So I appreciate you watching. Stick around. I'm going to do another one of these after I get everything fixed, and I have a suspension lift video, I have some engine swap overview stuff, and hopefully some off-road shakedown coming in the near future.